What up, gangsters? Yes, I'm back with the 7th part in my video Nasty series, which means that I'm already halfway through. So join while it lasts, I'd say, because today we have some pretty good stuff and some pretty bad stuff. So let's start with some pretty in-between stuff. The infamous Faces of Death. I've actually already talked about this one during my Disturbing Movies video series, in part 7.1 to be exact. So for now I'll just keep it a little short. Let's just see. I remember first seeing this movie in my early teens when a friend's father rented us for us to see at his birthday party. You know, like being the cool dad. And we felt like the cool, edgy kid seeing all this messed up shit. Seeing it again well over a decade later, it's so painfully obvious how fake half of the movie is. So basically what we get here is, in the tradition of the Italian Mondo movies of the 60s, a shockumentary depicting, in this case, all kinds of scenes revolving around death. The twist, so to say here, however, is that half of the material is fabricated, you know, like set up, it's fake. But with this weird doctor hosting the movie, they try to play it all off as being completely real. Which, in some scenes, obviously isn't the case. Some of the actual real footage, you know, like autopsies, animal cruelty, and the aftermath of accidents, is rather gruesome. But relatively tame compared to stuff you can easily find on gore sites nowadays. And that's why this movie doesn't really hold up today. But for back in the days, it definitely was a rather interesting, macabre mix of reality and fiction. So yeah, from a historical point of view, it's quite interesting, but the movie itself, it's really not all that great. But like I said before, if you want to hear me talk a little bit more about this movie, just check out part 7.1 in the most disturbing movies ever made video series, because there's where I talk a little bit more about Faces of Death. But first, next up, we have quite a special little entry actually. Fight for your life. Ooh, and that sounds pretty intense. Actually, it's pretty intense in the movie. So, you know, let's take a look. We start off the movie with quite a funky theme song. Fight for your life. Yeah, good stuff. But after that, the good vibes, they go downhill pretty fast. Basically what we have here is a twist on the good old rape and revenge movies from the 70s, you know, like Last House on the Left and I Spit on Your Grave. The twist here, however, is that it's more like a racism and revenge movie. Although there is some sexual assault as well, so maybe a racist rape and revenge movie? But that would imply that the movie is racist. But more on that later. So, 3 convicts, they escape and quickly take shelter at the home of the Turner family, where they plan to stay until it's dark, you know, when it's safe for them to continue their escape. One problem though, the main bad guy, Kane, he is a huge racist asshole.
I say any of you black-ass coons hungry, and you're supposed to say, yes, master, us black-ass coons is all hungry. I'm the master of the house, and I want the head nigger to fetch me drink.
And that's really where most of the controversy comes from, all these racist insults. And that's also what makes this quite an uncomfortable watch. Really, not so much the violence, which isn't even present too much, although the murder of this little boy is quite brutal. Still, it's mostly just the way this racist bad guy treats the innocent family. And in a weird way, he's kind of the show stealer, because the actor, William Sanderson, in one of his earliest roles, gives a great performance as a real asshole that you really come to dislike, making it a great villain. The other show stealer, of course, is the family's grandmother, who spits out some great one-liners.
Don't move or I'll blow your motherfucking balls off!
Some of the action when the family tries to get the upper hand, it's a little unconvincing. And besides that, the revenge part, unfortunately, is rather unsatisfying. I mean, after seeing this family being tormented for over an hour, you really wish the 3 bad guys would get what they deserve a little more than they actually receive in the movie's finale. Still, a very watchable, intense piece of 70s exploitation. Some people call this movie racist, but that doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, the bad guy, he's racist, sure. I mean, he's the bad guy. That doesn't make the movie racist. The same way that movies like Last House on the Left, they're not pro-rape or pro-violence for that matter. You know, the family, the Turner family in Fight for Your Life, they're portrayed as a super loving, peaceful family. And there's enough of interracial relationships going on in the movie if, you know, it's all good. So I'd say, yeah, it's worth checking out. It's definitely not bad. Ooh, next up, we actually have a fun one. Flash for Frankenstein. Also known as Andy Warhol's Frankenstein. You know, as in Andy Warhol's Dracula. Because they're allegedly produced by Andy Warhol, although I can't find any of this in the credits. But still, Andy Warhol presents. But besides that, they are written and directed by Paul Morrissey, who is unmistakably connected to Andy Warhol. So, that's all good. Let's just take a look. Basically, this Italian/French production is just a fun, twisted take on Mary Shelley's classic novel, in which Udo Kier plays as the mad scientist who tries to bring to life two bodies so that they can mate, in order to create a superior race that would follow his commands. And if that's not crazy enough for you, he's also married to his sister, who is a nymphomaniac, and they together have a son and daughter who spy on their mother while she's having sex with a servant. I could just stop the review right here, because that should be enough for you to drop whatever you're doing in order to immediately check out this movie. But I'm not gonna do that. So, the movie, it actually looks pretty good. I like the sets and all this scientific nonsense. Udo Kier's accent is also quite amusing.
Soon here in Serbia, in my laboratory, perfection will become a reality.
Especially during this amazing quote.
To know death, Otto, you have to fuck life in the gallbladder.
Truer words have never been spoken. But still, most of the dialogue is quite forced and overacted.
If there would be only some way to reduce the gestation period. How can I wait for 9 months from tonight till she bears me the first child?
Or simply just wooden as hell.
Do you know what they eat?
Bread with water.
And that doesn't bother you?
Not too much, it's okay.
But it's really just a lot of fun, with weird necrophilic bits and ridiculously bad special effects. I mean, sure, it sucks getting a door closed on your fingers, but this takes it to a whole other level. The movie gets a little tedious every now and then with lengthy talking scenes, but they spice things up with a lot of nudity, which was probably the foremost reason this movie ended up being one of the official 39 video nasties. So, all in all, this one is definitely an entertaining, perhaps unintentionally hilarious, perverse adaptation of the classic Frankenstein story. That's, well, yeah, definitely worth checking out. As a final note, quite unrelated, but you know, I just always loved the very last shot of this movie. Look, I don't know, it's just cool. Yeah, not really that much to add to this one. Really, in my opinion, this is one of the more fun entries on the list, at least definitely so far. But that probably also means that the remaining two titles for today, that they might not be as good. First, some crappy VHS zombie trash. Forest of Fear, yeah. Also known as Blood Eaters, very, very great title. Or the actually promising sounding Toxic Zombies. I mean, look at the poster design, that's actually pretty cool. The movie itself, however, well, let's just take a look. The movie starts out pretty promising, with two guys killing a girl and then getting killed by another group of guys. However, you'll immediately notice the crappy quality, and that's because this movie was only ever released on VHS. Some of the sequences are super dark, and at parts the dialogue it's really hard to understand. Anyway, we have this group of dope growers, but the government wants to get rid of the marijuana crops, and tries so by spraying an experimental toxic, which of course also infects the growers, turning them into the toxic zombies. And that should really be enough for a fun, low-budget zombie flick, but it doesn't really get any more scary or exciting than, well, this. Yeah, very terrifying. It's really just low-budget nonsense with crappy acting. No! crappy effects, and crappy editing.
Wait a minute, honey, I didn't mean...
Leave me alone. Oh! You!
What's going on? This movie has a lot of men treating women like, well, not how they're supposed to.
Give me that phone, you goddamn bitch!
Check this. This couple, they're being attacked by the toxic zombies, and then... What an asshole! The music, at parts, it's pretty cool though. Sometimes very Jaws-ish. Other times very Halloween-ish. And at parts just plain weird or... I don't know. But the problem with this movie is that it's mostly just a little boring. Even though it could have been so much fun, you know, because the zombie bits, as bad as they are, they're pretty entertaining. Yeah, this movie really is the brainchild of the director, who apparently was a film buff himself. Because besides directing, he also wrote, produced and edited the movie, as well as playing the main character, this guy. Now, that's dedication. Problem, however, he simply wasn't a filmmaker, so the result, while admirable, just simply isn't that great. For example, at one point, spoiler alert, they kill the girlfriend or the wife of the main character, you know, played by the director. And this really happens in a blink and you'll miss it moment, even though she's like one of the main characters. Oh well. I actually really wanted to like this movie. I mean, it had a lot of potential. But, you know, like I said, the end result, it's really not that great and rather dull. The director, Charles McCran, believe it or not, actually died while being in the World Trade Center during the 9/11 attacks back in 2001. And that's tragic, of course, that's really sad. But, you know, at least his legacy in the form of this crappy zombie flick is immortalized on the official Video Nasties list. How the movie ended up there in the first place is a completely different story though. I have no idea what happened there. So now from pretty good, you know, Flash of Frankenstein, to pretty bad, Force of Fear. Now on to pretty damn weird, Frozen Scream. Well, let's just take a look at Frozen Scream. Oh man, this movie is a complete mess that really has to be seen to be believed. I don't even know where to start because really the story is so confusing and disjointed. It has something to do with a mad scientist who wants to create zombies through cryonics and some immortality drug or something. It starts pretty promising with a lot of murdering and kidnapping within the first few minutes. But after that, we soon witness the atrociously bad acting, mostly by this sort of evil nurse played by the movie's producer.
Our experiments were on the order of mental concepts only, completely free of drugs, including cigarettes and alcohol.
What?
All I could envision was how incredible it would be if life could go on.
Forever?
Immortality.
At times it looks like she's honestly just reading her lines off a piece of paper that somebody is holding, like off screen.
Sometimes I really don't know what I see in you, Sven.
And to make it even more bizarre, after some 10 minutes, a dialogue is interrupted by a voiceover.
And I know I didn't make it up.
My name's Sergeant McGuire.
Yeah, this is the cop/detective that is going to help the case of his ex-girlfriend, whose husband was attacked. It's like The Creeping Terror, where they added a voiceover because they lost half of the audio recordings.
Martin did his best to recall everything in precise detail.
But here it's so weird, since you can still hear the original dialogue going on in the background.
It's always been a mystery to me why she acted so irrationally when it was clear she cared for me so much.
Half the time you really have no idea what's going on. There's this cult of the crazy eyes, I guess that's how I call them, that pop up every now and then. And besides that, you have surreal dreams, lengthy flashbacks, and more ridiculously bad dialogue and acting.
What's wrong?
Your hand. It was cold as ice. Like death.
Even the narrator agrees.
A pretty bad acting job, I'd say.
And all of this is assisted by the awful soundtrack. Might sound familiar to some, as it was later reused by the same composer for the famously bad slasher flick Don't Go in the Woods. Halfway through the movie, the fun of the bad acting and the nonsensical plot kinda wears off, and this is where the movie gets a little boring. The pacing is just so off. Sometimes we get this weirdly fast-paced editing, while later we get this overly long music party where we get to see some awesome dance moves. And this goes on, and it's probably only there to stretch the length of the movie to the already short running time of 75 minutes. I have no idea why this movie was on the Video Nasties list, even if it was dropped after only 2 months. I mean, there is some gore, but really not a lot. So, I don't know. It's worth checking out, really only for its sheer absurdism and laughable acting, because that's all this one has to offer. Finally though, there's this one shot that I had to replay a couple of times. It's so amazing. Check this.
Hello?
I mean, it's just so hasty and weird. I don't love it.
Hello?
So that's it. Frozen Scream. Recommended really only for people that can enjoy movies that are so bad that they're, somewhat entertaining. Yeah, that's all for today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like, subscribe, social media. Yeah, see you next time. Hey guys, if you enjoyed this video or the stuff on my channel in general, please consider supporting all of that by going over to patreon.com/horriblereviews. There's a short video on that page, just check it out, that will explain everything. By doing so, it'll make it easier for me to make more videos and, crank up the quality a little bit. You see the list of people over there? They are already supporting and, that's awesome. Thank you guys. If not, doesn't matter, nothing will change. I mean, I'll still try to make as many videos as possible. So thank you, and see you next time.